Alright, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Rasa. I'm back. I'm here to talk to you about some DFS NBA for today's slate on November 9th. And I'm just going to start off, just to give you an overview. These categories here: rebounds, assists, three-point shots, field goals / shots. These are to kind of narrow down the players that we want from these teams. We're going to focus on players that contribute in these categories listed here that have an asterisk by the team. So just real quick, we've got Denver. Three-point shot is in play, but Denver's also the top scoring team I have on here. They're tied actually with these other three teams: Houston, OKC, and Toronto. So whenever I see teams that are at the top with the highest score, typically you want to look for the best matchup or the superstar on the team. So with Denver, you're going to go with Jokic. You want a three-point shooter, so you're probably going to go with Barton or Jamal Murray, maybe even Paul Millsap. Those are all decent options. Denver, OKC is actually one of my top games based on the score. It's actually got one of the highest Vegas totals today. So you definitely want to get a stud from one of these two teams, if not both. So that's going to put Jokic definitely in play as a high usage, high volume shooter. And he's probably got, even though he's going to be facing Steven Adams, he's probably got one of the better matchups, him and Paul Millsap, as they'll be facing off against, they'll be matched up with Carmelo Anthony and Steven Adams. Then you've got Houston. Houston has nothing lit up, nothing with an asterisk in any of these categories, but they're the top score, or they're tied for the top score. So again, whenever I see this, it makes me want to play the superstar, the team's most productive player. So with Houston, the most productive player that actually does contribute in multiple categories, like the one shown above, is going to be James Harden. Shooting guard is also I would say it's a little suspect. You're not 100% sure what you're going to get from the major guards today. So I like Harden, especially if you're going to pay up. It could be a position that Harden could put you in a position to help balance out the rest of your lineup if you build your lineup correctly. And that game, Cleveland Houston's is within the top 3 of the games that I like. As far as score, it actually has the highest Vegas total today, so you definitely want to consider Harden. They're at home. Definitely like him in that spot. Derrick Rose is ruled out, so Eric Gordon, Harden. They'll get a little bit of LeBron today, but that doesn't scare me off. I still think Houston has a good game, and this game ends up being productive as far as with the scores and the other stats that are going to be involved in the game. Then you've got OKC. You've got the assists, three-point shot, field goals, and shots. Again, they're one of the top-ranked teams. Regardless, you were going to want to focus on the superstars from OKC. So you would have thought about, Westbrook, Paul George. You've got the assists, the three-point, and the shots in play, like I mentioned. So that definitely puts Westbrook in play, puts Paul George in play. Carmelo Anthony is another guy who could be a decent option if he gets matched up with Paul Millsap, because Melo isn't gonna, he's gonna shoot, he's gonna give you the three-point shot. You just don't know if you're gonna get the assist. But he's not a bad price to kind of roll the dice with if you're looking for a power forward that's going to give you a minimum of 30 points. Then you got Toronto, New Orleans. That's a top 3 game. Toronto, you're looking for rebounds and assists, so that kind of puts Ibaka into play. If we're talking about just rebounds, you're going to like Valanciunas. If you're talking about assists, you're going to like Lowry. He's their assist leader. And then being that it's got the top score, you want to consider the superstar, so that puts DeRozan in play, regardless of the fact that the field goal and the three-point shot doesn't have an asterisk. But it's a top 3 game. There should be some points. DeRozan is their top shooter. He's their volume shooter. Arguably their superstar. I guess, yeah, you could say DeRozan's their superstar. So You definitely want to you can consider DeRozan if you didn't want to pay up for Harden, but I just like Harden a little bit more because he does provide you know, a little bit more as far as with the rebounds and the assists. He's going to shoot the three ball. Um, and then it's the total for the game is the highest, and Harden's at home, so you definitely have to consider James Harden today. Um, Cleveland is up here. It's in the top 5. Um, you've got the assist in play, so you definitely want to consider LeBron. If you're keeping up with the player news, Derrick Rose isn't playing today, so that means LeBron should be handling point guard duties on offense. So that means he'll probably get matched up with either Eric Gordon or James Harden, and I don't see either one of them slowing him down. So LeBron is definitely in play. Again, in the game, it's got the highest total. He's on the road, so I don't see a blowout happening in this game. I'd be surprised if there was a blowout on either side. So definitely give LeBron a look. Kevin Love could also be in play here because of the total for the game and the score. So, you know, he's a volume shooter. So, you know, put Kevin Love in there. Definitely like LeBron. And if you want a value play here, being that Derrick Rose is out, you could go with Wade or J.R. Smith because of where the game is ranked. So if you're looking for a value play, you could go there as well. Then you got the Lakers in Sacramento. With the Lakers, you're looking for a shooter, also a three-point shooter, and someone that contributes to the assist column. So that puts Clarkson in play, puts Kuzma in play. You can consider Lonzo Ball. Again, with Ball, you just gotta tailor your expectations as far as upside. I mean, with all the Lakers, you have to tailor your expectations with their upside and be realistic and understand that there's a good chance that they don't go for 40 points, or maybe there's only one player from the team that ends up going for 40 points. But that doesn't mean that because it's a 5-game slate that they're not valuable. It's just something to keep in mind when you're creating your lineups and you're considering who you're playing. Sacramento got the assists. You got the 3-point shot. That's gonna put Darian Fox in play. 3-pointers, you've got it from Buddy Hield. Garrett Temple might give you a few threes. I'm leaning more towards Philly in this game, in Sacramento, Philly, so I'm leaning a little bit more towards Philly. But again, like I said, in Sacramento's whole team is pretty cheap. So if you're looking for some fill-ins, I would suggest looking for players that are going to give you assists and 3-point shots, and that typically ends up being the wing players. So you're considering Hield, Fox, and possibly Garrett Temple. Now with Washington, you got the rebounds, the assists, and the shots in play. So the rebounds, the assists, and the shots, that sounds like John Wall to me. You could go to Beal, but this feels a little bit more like a John Wall game to me, especially against the Lakers, and the Lakers are coming off a back-to-back. Markieff Morris is a cheap play. I think he got played 28 minutes last game. So he's going to be rebounding. You've got Gortat there if you're looking for rebounding. Markieff Morris can give you assists, and he's going to shoot if he's on the court. Most of the time, he's going to give you a good 10 to 12 shots. So he played 27 minutes last game. He should get 30-plus minutes if this game stays close. And I'm pretty sure Markieff Morris is under is under 5K. So we're looking for him to come close to 25 points, which is realistic and something that I think he could probably hit. Now, the next one is New Orleans. They're on the bottom 2 teams. So out of 10 games, it's going to put them. I'm sorry, out of 10 teams, it's going to put them in the bottom 20%, which is kind of where I want to find superstars in the bottom 20% of their score. Again, just so people know, I don't know if I told everyone, but just so you know, the score doesn't necessarily mean that the team is a bad play. It just means, based on my algorithm, it's not lining up for them to have a huge fantasy productive game compared to some of these other ones, and that's incorporating the score, what I think the score of the game is going to be, if there's going to be a lot of rebounds, assists, or field goals, and so forth. So again, New Orleans, bottom 20%. With Philly, you're going to want to find superstars. So for New Orleans, that's going to put Cousins and Anthony Davis obviously in play. Being that we're looking for assists and three-pointers, those are both two things that DeMarcus Cousins pretty much gives you on a nightly basis. So I definitely would consider Cousins. He's going to get matched up with Valanciunas and Ibaka. I think, whether you go Anthony Davis or Cousins, both of them have decent matchups. So, but I'm going to lean towards Cousins today, and that's another reason is because we know how injury prone Anthony Davis is. So that's just my opinion. Then oh, and as well as you could also consider Jrue Holiday, assist and three pointers. He's someone that could contribute in those categories. But for Philly, the first person that comes to mind is Ben Simmons, and I'm not sure if Embiid is going to play, but if Embiid plays, he's an option. The assist, you're going to get that from Ben Simmons. You're going to get the shot attempts from Ben Simmons. So consider those two. Covington is in play if Embiid doesn't play. Now, as far as with how I kind of analyze this, as far as how I build my lineups, that's basically what I do is pay attention to these categories and what categories apply to certain players. So if you see assists, three-pointers, and field goals lit up, for example, for OKC, you're going to want wing players. You're going to want guys that contribute in these categories. So based on this chart, you want wing players from OKC, from the Lakers, from New Orleans, and from Philly. I spoke about a few of those players, and then you're going to want to get forwards, which are small forwards and power forwards, from Philly, Washington, and Toronto. The wing players, and just so that everyone understands, when I say wing players, I'm talking about perimeter players, guys that are usually by the three-point line, usually have a little bit more space. So that's going to be point guards, shooting guards, and small forwards. Sometimes you can throw a power forward in there as well, but that's that's basically how that's going to depend on how you view that player. Now you're going to want to try to fit a player with the most upside from the top four teams. Like I mentioned, that's going to be Westbrook, Paul George, Jokic, Millsap, Lowry, DeRozan, Harden, LeBron, and then you're gonna want to get a couple of these players in your lineup, and at least that's what I'll be doing. Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, James Harden, LeBron James, Jokic, and Simmons. Yeah, it sounds obvious, but I think that core group that I just mentioned is going to be important to get no less than one, obviously, but I like two as a good number to give you a little room to fill in the rest of your lineup. Might want to get two of them and then stack a game, like maybe, or stack a team or a game. Depends on where you decide to go with that. But you've got some options, and I hope this helped you out a little bit. If you have any questions, you can follow me on Twitter at Fantasy Rasta. You can hit me up on Instagram at Fantasy Rasta. Check out our site at the DFS Cave. It's got some great articles. I hope you guys have a good night tonight. Wish you the best with your lineups, and I plan on having another podcast coming up again this week. I'm hoping for tomorrow, but again, if you have any questions, just hit me up on social media. All right, bye-bye.